One Silver Moon Mountain, located west of Capital of Chaos. It was quite a distance away from the Yuyang Luo Academy. Xiao Yan was also familiar with the Capital of Chaos. It was a famous mountain range in the Capital of Chaos. It was famous for producing a type of Silver Moon refined iron, while the Silver Moon refined iron was known as Silver Moon refined iron. It was the Silver Moon group, one of the most chaotic ones. It had taken over this place and made a fortune out of it. There were less than 10 fire wings Xiao Yan's left in his hands. Xiao Yan did not dare to waste them, as to protect one's life at a critical moment. He had used up a lot of them in the academy earlier. It also caused Xiao Yan's heart to ache. This feeling disappeared in a flash. Xiao Yan calmed his mind and rushed towards the direction of Silver Moon Mountain. He didn't encounter any troublesome matters along the way. He was still far away from the Silver Moon Mountain. He was getting closer and closer to the Silver Moon Mountain. Hey, the test mission said that I would come to Silver Moon Mountain to collect Silver Moon refined iron. But my whereabouts are actually under your control. In a mountain valley, Yuyang stood with his head held high and his hands behind his back. He laughed softly, but there was a cold look in his eyes. He looked at the dozens of people surrounding him and saw the dozens of people beside him. There were already 2 Silver Moon group members who had lost their chi. When he had just stepped onto this place, he had sensed something. Just as he was about to leave, 2 middle-aged men who had reached the Overlord realm suddenly rushed out from the forest behind him with spears in their hands. The tip of the spear was pointed at Yuyang's head. The latter remained silent. Just as the spears were about to pierce through his head, his body suddenly flashed. When he reappeared, 2 middle-aged men had already fallen to the ground. At the same time that the 2 middle-aged men fell to the ground, nearly 50 people rushed out and surrounded them. Yuyang lowered his head to look and could not help but frown. It seemed like he had fallen into their trap. Using 2 useless subordinates to trap the #1 genius of Yuyang Luo in a formation, it's worth it. In the crowd, Luo Jun slowly walked out. His eyes were filled with greed as he looked at Yuyang. In his eyes, this guy in front of him was worth 1.5 billion monarch crystal. When Yuyang heard this, he let out a cold laugh. His eyes swept across the surrounding people. Those who met his gaze trembled and lowered their heads involuntarily. The name of the former was extremely famous in Capital of Chaos. Most of them were the upper echelons of the Silver Moon group, and none of them dared to meet his gaze. You think you can stop me with just the likes of you? Luo Jun, you are too naive. I heard that Lin Dao crippled your brother's arm. Today, I will make you 2 brothers the same. Yuyang looked at Luo Jun and said with a smile. His smile seemed to contain anger. You still dare to boast shamelessly in the face of death? Do you really think that this formation is just a decoration? Luo Jun's face turned red and red when he heard this. Then, he furiously said. Finally, he turned to Zhao Qingshan and cupped his fists. Great Master Zhao, thank you for your help. Zhao Qingshan nodded his head with a solemn expression. He had only heard Luo Jun mention Yuyang's strength before. Today, he had witnessed it with his own eyes. With his powerful soul strength, Yuyang's strength seemed unfathomable. His chi and blood were incomparably vigorous, like a raging fire. You want to trap me with a broken formation? Yuyang gently smiled. His white robe moved gently, and his body was like a gentle breeze as he rushed towards Luo Jun. His chi was like a rainbow. Boom! The moment Yuyang moved, Zhao Qingshan's eyes suddenly focused. Majestic soul force surged out from between his brows. After being strengthened by the formation, it poured down like a flood and ruthlessly smashed towards Yuyang. Woo! Yuyang's facial expression suddenly changed. His head buzzed, and a moment of darkness appeared in front of his eyes. His movement was also slowed. As I expected, Luo Jun was overjoyed when he saw Yuyang's sudden pause. He turned his eyes and waved his hand, and said coldly, We will reward you handsomely for killing Yuyang. When the people who were still hesitating saw Yuyang's performance and Luo Jun's temptation, they were all desperate men. They immediately roared and rushed towards Yuyang like a swarm of bees. Dozens of origin chis soared into the sky. Their momentum was so overwhelming that it could topple mountains and overturn seas. It was an extremely frightening scene. You're courting death. After a brief moment of dizziness, Yuyang woke up. When he saw the crowd rushing towards him, his expression changed. He clenched his fist, as if he was holding an origin monarch chi in his hand. He turned it into a long stick and swept it towards the crowd. Boom! Before the long stick could sweep over, Zhao Qingshan sent out another soul attack. Mu Yuyang's brain buzzed again, and his chest felt a slight pain. Although his movements became sluggish, Mu Yuyang's senses did not change at all. He endured the dizziness and turned his body gently, dodging the countless attacks one by one. Sect Master Luo, Mu Yuyang's strength has already far exceeded that of an ordinary monarch emperor. Even with my help, the members of your sect won't be able to harm him. I still need your help. Blue veins popped out on Zhao Qingshan's forehead. Powerful soul energy kept attacking Mu Yuyang, making it impossible for him to attack effectively. Even so, Mu Yuyang's casual attack was enough to send an emperor flying and then fall into a coma. None of the higher-ups of Silver Moon Group was a match for Mu Yuyang's attack. All right. Luo Jun recovered from his initial joy when he saw how powerful Mu Yuyang was. He nodded his head with a cold expression on his face. He looked into the distance and unleashed his chi. His strength had far exceeded that of an ordinary monarch emperor. The Silver Moon Group was ranked in the top of the chaotic crowd. Naturally, Luo Jun's strength wasn't low. Although he hadn't reached the emperor cultivation yet, he had still far surpassed the peak of monarch emperor. Hong! Another soul attack was launched. Mu Yuyang's facial expression changed. The dizziness that came from his head made his legs go weak, and he almost fell to the ground. In the gap between them, Mu Yuyang looked at Zhao Qingshan coldly. Under the control of this old man, he was unable to exert his full strength. He had to find a way to get rid of this first. Bang! All of a sudden, a whistling sound that shook the space was heard. Mu Yuyang knew who it was just by feeling it. Although his strength was comparable to an emperor cultivation, he didn't have the slightest fear. He turned his body and sent a high-ranking official of Silver Moon Group, who had the strength of an emperor, flying away. Then, he used his right palm to meet Luo Jun's attack. Buzz! The moment before their fists and palms collided, the soul attack suddenly slowed Mu Yuyang's movement. Luo Jun let out a cold laugh and looked at Mu Yuyang, who had lost his focus in an instant. The wild joy in his heart was even more intense. Go to hell! The origin chi on his fist curled up and carried a blow that shattered mountains and rivers. It ruthlessly smashed towards Mu Yuyang's heart. 1.5 billion, he could obtain it with his bare hands. Boom! A rushing wind sound suddenly sounded. Before Luo Jun could react, he was sent flying. He forcefully turned in the air before his body slowly came to a stop. Luo Jun's eyes were instantly filled with fury when he saw that the attack that he was certain to succeed had been interrupted. Bastard! You are courting death. Looking at the black-robed youth who appeared on the ground, Luo Jun's fury soared to the sky as he roared. Zhao Qingshan was also startled. He looked at the young man who had suddenly appeared. When he saw the familiar face of the young man, he was slightly startled. After which, he shouted in shock, "Xiao Yan!" Xiao Yan's sudden appearance startled the rest of the people. When they realized that the former was merely the strength of a 4-Dao emperor, all of them laughed disdainfully. There were nearly 30 of them here, and almost all of them had reached the emperor realm. There were even 2 monarch emperor warriors here. However, a monarch spirit warrior dared to come here. They must be tired of living. Zhao Qingshan recovered from his initial shock and frowned. He was very clear about Xiao Yan's strength. Back when he was only at the monarch spirit, he was able to defeat Yin Kang, who had already reached the emperor realm. Now that he had reached the emperor realm, it was unknown how strong his true strength had become. No matter what, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to reach the monarch emperor realm. I'll just kill you right here. That's enough to settle my worries. Zhao Qingshan's eyelids twitched slightly. The killing intent in his heart had also increased dramatically. However, in such a short period of time, this guy had already reached the 4th Dao Emperor realm from the 5th Dao Monarch Spirit realm. This speed had truly shocked him. Senior Mu, are you all right? Xiao Yan stood still and looked at the furious Luo Jun. After that, he turned his gaze to Mu Yuyang and asked in a soft voice. When he arrived at Silver Moon Mountain, he could faintly feel a familiar soul fluctuation. If it wasn't for the fact that he had advanced to the Emperor realm and his soul power had increased greatly, he wouldn't have been able to sense it. This familiar fluctuation made Xiao Yan extremely puzzled. When he got close to this place, Zhao Qingshan's face suddenly appeared in his mind. It really is this old fellow. Last time, I didn't have the time to pay attention to you in the profound Yin Castle. This time, I can't let you leave this place alive. Xiao Yan looked at Zhao Qingshan with a gloomy gaze, and the fury in his heart slowly rose. Shaking his head, Mu Yuyang looked at the people in the distance. His eyes were calm as an ancient well, and he said in an extremely casual manner, "Why are you here?" Refining poison-dissolving pills requires heavenly beast essence blood. Elder Wai Tong from the punishment department said that there are Silver Moon Mountains in Silver Moon Mountain that give birth. I am here to try my luck. After a few words of explanation, Xiao Yan's eyes swept across the crowd. After seeing the clothes and accessories on everyone's bodies, he couldn't help but ask curiously. No one knows about the trials arranged by the Academy. Why would they be lying in ambush here? Back then, Yuan Tianmu's trial was carried out in a situation where no one in the outside world knew about it. After meeting him by chance, the former almost killed him to silence him. Logically speaking, Mu Yuyang's graduation exam was even more secretive. How could the people of the Silver Moon Group know his whereabouts? Mu Yuyang chuckled when he heard this. He did not speak, but his eyes flickered with a trace of undetectable fury. Can you hold that old man down? Mu Yuyang glanced at Zhao Qingshan and said in a flat tone. He's an old opponent. I've been wanting to meet him for a long time. Xiao Yan looked at Zhao Qingshan and said, "All right." Mu Yuyang smiled and nodded. His arm cut across the sky and a long sword appeared in his hand. "Leave the rest to me." After saying that, Mu Yuyang dashed towards the crowd like a bolt of lightning. His speed was so fast that Xiao Yan couldn't see his movements clearly. The conversation between the two had only lasted for a short period of time. When they saw Mu Yuyang rushing towards them, all the higher-ups of the Silver Moon Group were startled. Then, with a ferocious smile on their faces, they crazily rushed forward. As long as Great Master Zhao's soul energy was effective, Mu Yuyang's movement would be slowed down slightly. What awaited him would be dozens of frenzied attacks. Luo Jun stood in the air and gave Xiao Yan a cold glance. He didn't take Xiao Yan's strength seriously. As long as he could hold Mu Yuyang back, he wouldn't be afraid even if a monarch emperor came. Luo Jun's body flashed as he thought of this. He rushed down and a golden halberd appeared in his hand. It was like a roaring flood dragon as it flew towards Mu Yuyang. You are courting death. Zhao Qingshan stood in the distance. He used his soul energy to lock onto Mu Yuyang's position. As the light gathered between his eyebrows, another soul attack was unleashed. Buzz. The moment his soul power was released, Zhao Qingshan's facial expression changed. It was as if his soul power had collided with an iron plate. It was impossible to inject it into the formation to harm Mu Yuyang. Xiao Yan, did you do it? When Zhao Qingshan regained his senses, his facial expression turned extremely ugly. In the distance, Xiao Yan was staring at him coldly. The center of his brows slowly moved, and a wave of soul energy spread out like a sharp sword, shattering the soul attack that he had just unleashed. Impossible. This kid's soul. Even if he has reached the late alien realm, how could he be a match for me? Zhao Qingshan's eyes were filled with shock. When he first met Xiao Yan in Forest Domain, his soul strength had already reached the late alien realm. Although he hadn't made any breakthrough in these years, he had made significant progress. Now, he was no match for Xiao Yan. This bastard, how could he have such powerful soul energy? Zhao Qingshan's expression was gloomy. Although Xiao Yan's soul energy wasn't as powerful as his, it was more condensed and vigorous. He had an inexplicable feeling that it was hard to grasp. Kai, without Zhao Qingshan's soul attack, Mu Yuyang was like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. The longsword in his hand was like a single entity. The sword light was overflowing in all directions, instantly killing the two of them. Zhao Qingshan, what's going on? Seeing that Mu Yuyang was not affected in the slightest, Luo Jun's charging body suddenly stopped. He looked at Mu Yuyang who was killing like he was cutting grass, and his eyes almost popped out as he roared at Zhao Qingshan. Zhao Qingshan's face was as red as a pig's liver, and he couldn't speak. All of his soul attacks had been shattered by Xiao Yan, and his chest felt a little stuffy. On Xiao Yan's forehead, Zhao Qingshan's soul power had almost reached the perfect alien realm. If it wasn't for the fact that his soul power was exceptionally strong in the lower realm, he might not be a match for Zhao Qingshan. Bastard. Luo Jun's eyes revealed a trace of fear when he didn't hear Zhao Qingshan's reply. If Mu Yuyang continued killing without any hesitation, all of his belongings would be destroyed. Both of you, I am willing to share the monarch crystal with both of you. Please help me. Luo Jun's face was ferocious. Suddenly, he roared at a certain direction, his voice full of unwillingness. Sect Master Luo, if you had told me earlier, I wouldn't have lost so many of my men. A wild laughter was transmitted from afar following Luo Jun's stern cry. In an instant, two human figures had rushed over from the forest in the distance. Their auras were rising, and they were not inferior to Luo Jun at all. People from the Mercenary Alliance. Mu Yuyang glanced at the two people who had appeared and softly muttered. There was no change in his expression, but there was a hint of seriousness in his eyes. Xiao Yan also looked at the two of them. The moment the two of them appeared, he had a trace of doubt in his heart. These people seemed to have already known their whereabouts and were waiting for them here. When the people of Silver Moon Group saw the two helpers called out by Luo Jun, they were stunned for a moment, then they were overjoyed. These were two Monarch Emperor level expert. Even Mu Yuyang would have some concerns about them. Zhao Qingshan's facial expression became even uglier. He had underestimated Luo Jun, but he didn't expect Luo Jun to hide it from him and secretly join forces with him. The longsword in his hand stabbed into the ground. Following a sword cry, the longsword turned into an origin chi and disappeared. Mu Yuyang's expression was cold. With a flip of his palm, a green longsword appeared in his hand. The shape of the longsword was simple, and there were mysterious patterns on it. On the hilt of the sword, there were two ancient words. Heavenly Net. 0 inches the number one genius of the Yan Luo, Mu Yuyang. He, I heard that this kid has a reward of 1.5 billion monarch crystals. What? Tisk, tisk, tisk. How many heavenly cores does he need to sell in order to get this reward? A skinny middle-aged man with a hooked nose stared at Mu Yuyang like a poisonous snake, and spoke with a hoarse voice. Shu Lia, you can't say that. This kid's talent is the most eye-catching. Who knows what kind of level he will reach in the future? At that time, the damage he will cause to the capital of chaos will not be as simple as 1.5 billion. Beside the middle-aged man, a slightly strong middle-aged man looked at Mu Yuyang with a smile. Both of their appearances were quite similar, but the only difference was their fat and thin bodies. Shu Xing, Shu Lia, join hands with me and kill him. You will get a share of 1.5 billion monarch crystal. Luo Jun's expression was cold. A group of Emperor's subordinates had already been scared out of their wits by Mu Yuyang. With just him alone, he might not be a match for Mu Yuyang. Sect Master Luo, we have agreed on this beforehand. The Silver Moon Group will take the essence of the Silver Moon from the Dark Golden Beast. The Mercenary Alliance will take the corpse of the Dark Golden Beast and the Heavenly Core. We will take what we need from each other. We don't owe each other anything. How many monarch crystals do you plan to take out if you want us to fight? The middle-aged man named Shu Xing narrowed his eyes. He wasn't stupid. He had heard about Mu Yuyang's strength before. Back when he was still an emperor, he was able to kill a monarch emperor, and he had no idea how strong Mu Yuyang was now. With his cautious personality, he naturally wouldn't act recklessly. It's too early to say all of this now. Let's kill him first. Luo Jun was infuriated upon hearing this, and he said while holding back his anger. Stop dawdling. Mu Yuyang took a step forward and looked at the three peak of Monarch Emperor warriors. There was no fear on his face. He pointed the heavenly net sword in his hand at the void and stomped on the ground. Like a white lightning bolt, he streaked across the void and pointed at Luo Jun and the other two men. Arrogant brat. Seeing that Mu Yuyang had actually taken the initiative to rush over, the middle-aged man called Shu Lia laughed out of extreme anger. He held his hand in the air and a battle axe appeared in his hand. Let me fight you, Shu Lia roared. He flapped the wings on his back and rushed towards Mu Yuyang. Luo Jun and Shu Xing did not dare to be slow. They also rushed forward. Mu Yuyang was not a match for him alone. They could not let him defeat them one by one. There was no fear on Mu Yuyang's face. The sword chi on the heavenly net sword in his hand was like a dragon. As the dragon's roar sounded, it transformed into numerous sharp sword chi that wrapped around him. Ordinary attacks would not be able to harm him at all. Shu Lia held the battle axe in his hand. The surface of the axe was overflowing with spiritual light, and it was swung down like a peerless giant. As the energy spread out, the ground was split open, and a few dozen feet large marks could be seen on the surface of the axe. The short halberd in Luo Jun's hand was like a flood dragon, tearing through the air and aiming at Mu Yuyang's heart. As the flood dragon roared furiously, the sword energy protecting Mu Yuyang's body started showing signs of cracking. Xu Xing tightened his grip on the blade. As he swung the blade, the air was torn apart. A terrifying blade energy quietly spread across the void, causing the space to tremble. When the battle in the sky was about to erupt, many of the higher-ups of Silver Moon Group on the ground looked at Xiao Yan. In an instant, with a furious shout, dozens of people rushed towards Xiao Yan. As the origin chi moved, the surrounding rocks cracked open and turned into powder. We have just advanced to the Emperor realm, and we have already encountered such a great battle. This is truly exciting. He glanced at the sky. Xiao Yan looked at the dozens of people rushing over and a smile surfaced on his face. Amongst the nearly 30 people, there were nearly 20 Emperor Stage experts and Peak of Monarch King experts. There were 4 or 5 of them. Swoosh! Xiao Yan held the blue flame ruler tightly in his hand. He looked coldly at Zhao Qingshan, who had a gloomy expression on his face. His opponents were not only the emperors, but also the Monarch Emperor Alchemist. Hong! The crimson gold flame suddenly coiled around Xiao Yan's body. At the same time, the crimson gold flame also shook, and the fire became even more intense. The heavenly Monarch fire burning body was used to strengthen one's body. Monarch Flame's secret skill Wheel of Fire, strengthen the flame. In just an instant, Xiao Yan's strength had skyrocketed to the peak of Monarch King. As Xiao Yan's strength increased, he could finally unleash half of the Holy Art's heavenly Monarch fire burning body's strength. 9 revolving wind, 9 revolving wind. The force of the wind under his feet surged. Xiao Yan rushed into the crowd like a dragon. The Emperor Flame on the blue flame ruler roared and bombarded the surroundings. Ever since he had caused a huge ruckus in the main hall of Yuanyu City, Xiao Yan had never been so reckless. His soul force was highly concentrated. He carefully observed the movements of the crowd. Xiao Yan was like a god of slaughter. He waved the huge flaming ruler in his hand. The emotions that had been stifled in his body for many days seemed to have found a way to pour out. They turned into an endless amount of energy and surged out violently. Zhao Qingshan stood in the distance, and his eyes were cold and gloomy. He had used up too much of his soul force earlier, but after seeing the 2 Monarch Emperor warriors from the mercenary alliance that Luo Jun had called out, he had no choice but to stay behind just in case. After all, he had done a lot of things like turning hostile and refusing to admit defeat. Damn brat, you are ruining my plans. Staring at Xiao Yan's imposing manner, Zhao Qingshan's eyes sparkled for a moment, but he didn't attack immediately. He clearly remembered how terrifying Xiao Yan was when he used the Fire Lotus. He would let these guys consume Xiao Yan's energy first, and then he would kill them. While Xiao Yan was unleashing his divine might, Mu Yuyang was also fighting 3 Peak of Monarch Emperor warriors in the sky. Facing these 3 powerful warriors, even Mu Yuyang didn't dare to underestimate them. His strength had completely erupted, and he had already reached the 3rd Monarch Emperor. Furthermore, after his trip to the illusory spirit space, it was only a matter of time before he reached the 4th Monarch Emperor. The heavenly net sword in his hand was like a dragon's roar. With a slight swing of the sword, it blocked Xu Lia's battle axe. Sword chi swept across, and Luo Jun's short halberd was also blocked. Although the backbreaker in Xu Xing's hand did not belong to a heavenly weapon, it was still considered one of the top items among the high-grade Mu Yuyangs. As the blade light surged, it actually cut off the sword chi that protected Mu Yuyang's body. The latter's clothes were torn apart, and his clothes were scattered in the wind. Mu Yuyang's body moved. Like a flowing light, he jumped out of the battle circle and glanced at Xiao Yan below. When he saw Xiao Yan showing off his divine might, he could not help but be startled. After which, he laughed lightly. He mumbled to himself, "This strength is even stronger than mine at that time." After saying that, Mu Yuyang raised his head and looked at the 3 people who had complacent expressions. He smiled coldly and said, "Am I too soft in my hands? Now, the game should be over." As his voice faded, the heavenly net sword in Mu Yuyang's hand pointed at the void. On the blade of the sword, a sword chi shot into the sky and exploded. In an instant, the sky darkened, as if it had been imprisoned. Monarch Arts, Great Luo Heaven. Mu Yuyang's face was expressionless as he slowly said these words. In the next moment, in the sky, endless sword chi poured down like a world-destroying thunderbolt, as if it was going to destroy the heaven and earth. Sensing the terrifying power contained within the sword chi, Luo Jun and the other two men's facial expression changed. This guy was only a monarch emperor warrior, but the monarch skill he unleashed was actually this terrifying. Break it open! As the strongest monarch emperor amongst the three men, Shu Xing recovered from his shock. Immediately, he let out a furious roar, and a golden light surged out from the broken blade in his hand. A blade shadow that was dozens of feet long condensed and formed into a huge golden python. The huge python opened its mouth wide, as if it was going to devour the sun and moon. 6 Freak Flood Dragon Halberd, Iron Bone Axe, split open the sky. Luo Jun and Shu Lia both roared out furiously. As the origin chi surged out, they unleashed their strongest monarch skill. In an instant, the flood dragon roared furiously, the golden python swallowed the sky, and the huge axe shook the world. The entire sky trembled. Mu Yuyang remained unmoved. He watched the three of them move, and a faint smile appeared on his somewhat pale face. The second layer of the Great Luo sky, capsize. One rumble. Accompanied by an ear-splitting rumble, the winds and clouds in this area surged. Mu Yuyang was like a god as he raised the heavenly net sword high into the air. The origin chi on his sword buzzed, and the sword chi was like a dragon's roar, causing the heavens and the earth to change color. Although Luo Jun and the other two were peak of monarch emperor experts, they were facing such an attack. Even they were frightened by the monarch skill. This young man who was only a 3 monarch emperor warrior was actually able to use it. When the endless sword chi was pouring down, the attacks of the 3 men were also launched fiercely. The flood dragon roared furiously, tearing apart the sword chi. The light and shadow on the giant axe scattered in all directions, cutting off countless sword chi. The huge golden blade was also moving in the opposite direction, violently cutting apart a few powerful sword chi. The Great Luo Heaven, capsize. Mu Yuyang's expression remained unchanged. He gently turned his wrist, and a bone-deep sword howl was instantly heard from the heavenly net sword. In the next moment, the sword chi that was forced back by the 3 men once again emitted an intense light, as if it had a spirit of its own. It poured down even more violently towards the 3 men. Kai, the crimson gold flame on top of the blue flame ruler surged violently bombarding them. The origin chi armor protecting an elite emperor was instantly shattered by the shoulder of the latter in an instant. The sound of bones cracking was suddenly emitted. Following a miserable cry, the middle-aged man was blasted out. He fell to the ground, and it was unknown whether he was alive or dead. Surrounded by dozens of people, Xiao Yan was just like a swimming dragon. Flames curled around his body. Ordinary attacks were unable to harm him in the slightest. The blue flame ruler in his hand spread wide and wide. It was as though a wolf had entered a flock of sheep. In an instant, he had already defeated 7 to 8 people. How is this possible? So many people are actually unable to block it? Seeing Xiao Yan show his mighty power, Zhao Qingshan, who was standing far away, had a gloomy look in his eyes. This kid was actually this strong. No one could even withstand a single attack from an Emperor Realm expert of the same level. That ruler is also strange. Zhao Qingshan finally could not endure any longer as he looked at the blue flame ruler that whistled through the sky in Xiao Yan's hand. The origin chi within his body surged and quietly charged forward. Xiao Yan also vented the fury in his heart in the face of dozens of aggressive emperor experts. The blue flame ruler gave rise to a strong wind. Each strike was steady and powerful. It was sufficient to send an ordinary emperor flying. After the intense battle, Xiao Yan naturally did not dare to relax his guard against the surrounding environment. This was especially the case for Zhao Qingshan. He had put 120% of his concentration on this powerful monarch emperor. The moment Zhao Qingshan moved, Xiao Yan's sharp soul force had already sensed it. Xiao Yan's heart trembled. He did not dare to continue fighting with these emperors. With a soft cry, the lightning glow on the blue flame ruler jumped. As the lightning arcs rumbled, the ruler violently smashed onto the ground. In an instant, the explosive force caused everyone to be overturned. Letting out a soft sigh, Xiao Yan's body moved and he had already left his original spot. In the next moment, Zhao Qingshan had already arrived. His eyes were as dark as water. Both of his hands were like claws that seemed to want to tear through the air as they headed straight for Xiao Yan's chest. The might of the monarch emperor level expert was something that an ordinary emperor could not compare with. Before he even arrived, Xiao Yan felt a strong wind blowing against his face, piercing his skin until it hurt. Sen Luo Claw. Zhao Qingshan's beard and hair were wide open, and his eyes were scarlet red. The power of this attack was so great that even a giant rock could be easily shattered. He still remembered Xiao Yan's fire lotus clearly. This attack was filled with the determination to kill, and he absolutely could not allow this brat to have the chance to use the fire lotus. Zhao Qingshan bent his 5 fingers slightly, but his qi didn't decrease at all. His 5 fingers tore through the space like steel, and carried a strong wind that rushed towards Xiao Yan's chest. Judging from its power, if it was hit, even the giant rock would explode. Hong! Xiao Yan's feet tightly grabbed the ground. His expression was quite grave as he looked at Zhao Qingshan's 5 claws. No matter what, the latter was a monarch emperor level expert. It was not much different from Luo Jun. If one was careless, it was likely that one would be seriously injured and retreat. Clang! The blue flame ruler in his hand was blocked in front of his chest in a lightning-like manner. Flames lingered on Xiao Yan's palm. With his sharp spiritual strength, he was able to instantly capture every action of Zhao Qingshan. His left hand was like a clap of thunder as he extended it. In the nick of time, he violently grabbed Zhao Qingshan's wrist and forcefully blocked Zhao Qingshan's attack. Swoosh! The intense pain that came from his palm caused Xiao Yan to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. Even with the protection of the monarch flame, the origin qis that continuously gushed out from Zhao Qingshan's wrist were like sharp blades that cut apart Xiao Yan's palm and forcefully blocked Zhao Qingshan's attack. The injuries that he suffered were much more serious than what Xiao Yan had expected. How is this possible? Xiao Yan tightly gripped his wrist and could no longer move forward. Zhao Qingshan's eyes were about to crack. He was a monarch emperor level expert, and any origin monarch qi in his body was enough to shatter a mountain rock. With just Xiao Yan's strength as an emperor, he was actually able to block the attack that he was determined to get. Old man, it's time to settle the old score from 10 years ago. Xiao Yan looked at the shocked Zhao Qingshan and said with a ferocious smile. He had just arrived in the great world. If it wasn't because of a coincidence, he would have been killed by a little trick of Zhao Qingshan. 10 years of hatred, it was time to end it now. Brat! I should have killed you at that time. Zhao Qingshan was like a furious lion. His eyes were filled with a light that could devour people. The corner of his mouth twitched as he spoke. Xiao Yan only sneered when he heard this. He held the blue flame ruler in his hand and easily blocked Zhao Qingshan's punch. With the help of the impact from the back, Xiao Yan moved his body and distanced himself from Zhao Qingshan. After calming the surging origin qis in his heart, Xiao Yan straightened his body and placed the blue flame ruler on his shoulder. His eyes were filled with an endless cold light as he looked at Zhao Qingshan. Back in Forest Domain, when he faced the powerful Zhao Qingshan, he could only use words to scare people. After nearly 10 years, he finally had the ability to stand in front of the latter and look at him coldly. In midair, Yuyang's figure was like a bolt of lightning as he shuttled through the endless sword qi. The heavenly net sword in his hand was like a phantom, and the sword qi was like a dragon that shook the blue sky. Wherever the sword blade passed, the space would buzz. The tip of the sword was overflowing with cold light as it went straight for Shu Lia's throat. The origin monarch qi coiled around his entire body. The huge axe in Shu Lia's hand protected him tightly. Streams of sword qi poured down, tearing apart the protective armor of the former. Under this heaven and earth, one still had to be careful of the countless sword qi's attacks. As a result, the strength of the 3 of them had fallen, and they were unable to focus their attention. Arrogant brat! Shu Lia roared out. The wings on his back flapped continuously, and he rushed towards Yuyang without caring about anything else. He had a violent temper to begin with. Being looked down upon by Yuyang made him even angrier. In the Mercenary Alliance branch of Capital of Chaos, he was a man of status, and now, he had 3 monarch emperor warriors working together. How could he be looked down upon by a brat who was still wet behind the ears? Sect Master Luo, Let's go too, he shouted lightly. Xu Xing's figure was like a bolt of lightning. The golden blade in his hand shot out a blade light, slashing towards Mu Yuyang with a terrifying force. Luo Jun looked down with an ugly expression. When he saw the confrontation between Xiaoyan and Zhao Qingshan, a trace of fury flashed across his face. How did the situation become like this? One Mu Yuyang had actually forced 3 Monarch Emperor warriors to join forces. Hong! The sword light lightly shattered the incoming sword light. Mu Yuyang, Luo Jun, and the other 2 finally fought head-on. In the domain of the Great Luo heaven, Mu Yuyang was like the creator, and he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage when fighting 3 peak of Monarch Emperor warriors. On the ground, the battle between Xiaoyan and Zhao Qingshan erupted all of a sudden. Zhao Qingshan had been in the Monarch Emperor for many years, and his strength was already considered great. Combined with his powerful soul energy, he had gained the upper hand in the battle. Both of his hands were like dragon claws attacking from all directions, causing Xiaoyan to feel overwhelmed in an instant. Swoosh! The blue flame ruler whistled past. The origin chi wings on Zhao Qingshan's back flapped, and he dodged it in an instant. He jumped in the air, and a strong wind was blowing on his fist. The majestic origin chi roared as it smashed toward the back of Xiaoyan's head. Buzz! After violently stabbing the blue flame ruler into the ground, Xiaoyan borrowed the force and jumped up. His right hand reached out like lightning and firmly grabbed Zhao Qingshan's fist. He suddenly clenched his fist tightly. Ka! His right arm suddenly exerted strength. The joints of his fingers on his tightly clenched fist turned slightly white. He tightly held Zhao Qingshan's fist and the sound of bones cracking suddenly rang out. Zhao Qingshan's expression changed instantly, and a hint of pain surged up his brows. Xiaoyan's fist was like a giant clamp, and in an instant, it made him feel somewhat powerless. Without any time to think, Zhao Qingshan threw out a punch that was as fast as lightning. The aura of the Monarch Emperor level expert spread within it. It shook the air until it made a sizzling sound. Wherever the fist passed, sonic booms were continuously heard. A ruthless expression surged up between Xiaoyan's brows. His mind turned quickly, and he instantly let go of Zhao Qingshan's right hand, which was tightly clenching Zhao Qingshan's fist. Flames curled on his palm, and he pressed it against the latter's chest. Even if he had to take a punch from Zhao Qingshan, he still wanted to let him know his own strength. Seeing that Xiaoyan didn't dodge, Zhao Qingshan was slightly stunned. Immediately, he felt delighted in his heart. Even if this kid had a secret technique to increase his own strength was only that of an emperor. It was simply wishful thinking to compete with him in terms of physical strength. The origin chi in his body whistled. Xiaoyan's right palm suddenly struck Zhao Qingshan's chest. The tremendous force caused Zhao Qingshan's face to turn pale, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. At the same time, Zhao Qingshan's lightning-like fist also arrived as planned. It was like a meteorite had fallen from the sky, and it violently smashed onto Xiaoyan's chest. 2 enormous forces caused both of them to fly backwards. A burning pain came from his chest, causing Zhao Qingshan to suck in a breath of cold air. He suppressed the sweetness in his throat. This fellow could no longer be described as an ordinary person. He could actually break the origin chi armor of the Monarch Emperor level expert with a single palm strike. He was comparable to a monstrous genius. However, he was also hit by his own fist. Even if he could survive, he would definitely be severely injured. Compared to Zhao Qingshan, Xiaoyan was sent flying further away. He was smashed into a pile of rocks in the distance and was drowned by the rocks. There was no movement. Forcibly enduring the pain in his chest, Zhao Qingshan's forehead was filled with sweat. As he looked at the pile of rocks that had buried Xiaoyan, a wild joy immediately flashed across his eyes. Finally, he had killed this brat who kept haunting him. An emperor was always an emperor. There was no way he could be a match for a monarch emperor. You guys go and pick up that bastard's corpse. After turning around and instructing the remaining people, Zhao Qingshan raised his head and looked at Mu Yuyang, who was evenly matched with Luo Jun and the other 2 men. His eyes were filled with unconcealed shock. This guy was a true monster, and he was able to fight 3 peak of Monarch Emperor warriors to a draw. Great Master Zhao, what do you think? The remaining few Emperor experts looked at Zhao Qingshan with fear on their faces. They stepped forward and spoke in a trembling voice. Xiao Yan, who was also an emperor, was no match for them even if they joined forces. Now that Zhao Qingshan had shown his mighty strength and killed Xiao Yan, they were even more unable to interfere in the battle between the sect master and Mu Yuyang. I have my own plans. After glaring at them, Zhao Qingshan said angrily. When the higher-ups of Silver Moon Group saw Zhao Qingshan's gaze, they were shocked in their hearts. Immediately, they bowed and answered. Although they were anxious, they didn't dare to speak anymore. Standing on the ground, Zhao Qingshan's face was gloomy. In the current situation, he was also hesitating if he should intervene. However, since Luo Jun had called for someone else without telling him anything, it meant that he didn't fully trust him. If he killed Mu Yuyang, he might be suppressed in terms of the distribution of benefits. Hong. While Zhao Qingshan was lost in his thoughts, the pile of rocks in the distance suddenly exploded. The rocks pierced through the space and hit the three emperors who were going to collect the corpses. Caught off guard, the three of them did not even have time to scream before they were smashed into mud by the millstone-sized rocks. How is this possible? Zhao Qingshan's thoughts were pulled back by the loud sound. He looked at the pile of rocks in shock. Xiao Yan's clothes were torn and he jumped out from the pile. Although there were many big and small wounds on his body, his qi was still stable and there was no disorder at all. He took such a heavy punch, but there was no reaction. Seeing Xiao Yan's cold eyes, Zhao Qingshan looked like he had seen a ghost. His face was full of disbelief. The clothes on Xiao Yan's chest where the punch had hit had been torn, but there was no trace of injury. Looking at his own chest, a strange look flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes. The place where Zhao Qingshan's punch landed was the place where the prestige power spell was hidden. The moment he was hit, a black and golden light flashed past. It absorbed the pain that had yet to spread to his body, just like how he absorbed the powerful qi in Elder Yi's illusion realm. The pain that he should have felt in his body was transmitted to his soul, causing Xiao Yan's mind to buzz. After that, he felt an intense pain, and he was unable to stop his body while he was flying backwards. He crashed into the pile of rocks without any resistance. Even so, the pain was much weaker compared to the pain that had penetrated deep into his bone marrow. In just a moment, Xiao Yan woke up. Zhao Qingshan, today, you will die for sure. Xiao Yan's cold eyes swept across the remaining 10 emperor experts around him. Then he looked at Xiao Yan and Zhao Qingshan. His voice was as loud as thunder. It's you who deserves to die. Red and white alternated on Zhao Qingshan's face as he furiously shouted. After his voice sounded, a spiritual light flashed between his brows. A majestic soul force was like a huge sword that had passed through the void. The huge energy that spread apart caused the heads of the ordinary upper echelons of Silver Moon Group to rumble. It was as if their heads were about to explode. Their vision turned black and they fainted. Seeing Zhao Qingshan launching a soul attack, Xiao Yan held his breath and focused his mind. Due to the heavenly monarch fire burning body, his body began to feel weak. Zhao Qingshan's action was exactly what Xiao Yan hoped for. Buzz. The soul force that had been tempered by the prestige power spell for a long time surged out from between his brows like a dragon soaring into the sky. Although he had just advanced to the late alien realm, the soul force contained within it was infinitely close to the perfect state of the late alien realm. The 3-step soul transfer had created an absolute advantage for Xiao Yan's soul force. The dragon roared furiously, easily shattering Zhao Qingshan's soul giant sword. Under the latter's shocked gaze, it violently rushed into the center of his brows. In the next moment, Xiao Yan's body swayed, and a sense of weakness spread throughout his body. He held onto a huge rock beside him, and only then did he not fall to the ground. In the distance, Zhao Qingshan's body suddenly stiffened. The color in his eyes also quietly disappeared. Finally, it turned into a dead silence. In midair, Mu Yuyang's face turned slightly pale. He leapt up and jumped out from the continuous attacks of the 3 men. The heavenly net sword qi in his hand was like a long dragon roaring. In the sky, the thunder was furious. Countless sword qi seemed to have turned into furious dragons, roaring and crashing down. 3rd level of the Greater Luo Heavens, Destruction. Within Mu Yuyang's body, the endless origin monarch qi was completely unleashed, creating a scene that looked like the end of the world.